Do you know what the term socio-economic discrimination means? Those words seem weird, complex, but they also look very important. Maybe they even affect each life, each existence. That's why we wanted to define what does the term socio-economic discrimination mean? What does it do to be affected by the judgment of society based on your wealth, on your appearance, on your job, etc. To really know, we bring together people with different knowledge on this topic to understand. Activists, academics, social workers, but also members of other organisations and ATD volunteers. We sum up our work in a report called Breaking Barriers, and we will tell you some stories in real terms with lots of quotes from the interviewees. What is socio-economic status? Socio-economic status is often referred to as social class or just class. This kind of status is based on your income, your employment, but it could also be based on the community you live in or even your accent. Your own identity is complex and cannot be summed up according to your wealth. That's why the socio-economic status include other elements. It could be your gender, your religion, your family's reputation, your postcode, your skin colour, etc.
It's not only about where you come from, it can also be about what paths you have taken in life. If you were in care or if you were sick, you might be discriminated against for being in a wheelchair. You could be discriminated against for not having a fixed address, like a lot of homeless people around Dublin would be discriminated against daily for not having a house, but that's completely out of their control.
What is socio-economic discrimination? An interviewee told us that discrimination is the way people are judgmental. It's about people assuming you are not to be involved in important decisions, to not have access to a service because your community doesn't have enough resources. It incorporates a lot of different situations.
There's stigma in how things get discussed in public arenas, which are often not constructive and can be very destructive. We had that campaign a few years back about welfare cheat sheets, us and all. There was certain particular personal and family circumstances that people automatically thought of.
That's an example of how the political and media speech often reinforced discrimination in the way they describe some communities. On the other hand, we also discussed how several elements of society were discriminating people based on their socio-economic status, the education system and the public services.
Even a simple place like a grocery store chain, where you are sometimes asked questions when you enter a store, when you're leaving a store, that don't always match the ones that are asked of people who are identified as not being local. So, what are you doing here? Can I look in your pockets? That sort of thing.
Another aspect of discrimination is the exclusion of some people from decision-making processes. It includes both national policies and individual decisions when it comes to housing and healthcare provision. What are the types of socio-economic discrimination? Not all discriminations we have looked at are similar in how it is experienced or as easy to identify or to capture in legislation. However, we can already distinguish discrimination based on the origins of it, who does it affect and where does it happen. You can make the difference between the interpersonal and the institutional discrimination. The interpersonal occurs through individual interactions. It could be a rude comment on a bus. The institutional stems from an organisation. For example, if a restaurant won't let you in or certain schools are not accessible to certain kids. Another major difference between the direct and indirect discrimination. A direct discrimination occurs when a law or store policy is directly discriminational. For example, refusing certain kinds of people entrance to a nightclub. However, some contexts, even if they seem neutral, are not in reality. For example, the school system can seem neutral, while many higher schools are in fact inaccessible to working classes.
When my wife was in the hospital giving birth to her first child, the first person to visit her was a social worker. This was only because we had a history of addiction. The social worker came down on us pretty hard, and this really made my wife afraid that her baby would be taken away by the social worker. In the end, the social worker visited her home and everything was fine. But should this be a way you bring your first child into this world with fear and discrimination?
What are the impacts of socio-economic discrimination? One of the participants summarises these impacts as
an enforced living in the shadows of the mainstream society.
Indeed, it impacts your thoughts, your ambition, your agency, but also creates fear and distrust. Another sums it up as
when your need isn't being met.
This includes the day-to-day needs such as having food to eat, a safe home, well-being, etc., but also long-term opportunities. Suffering from discrimination can lead you to lower your expectations.
If you look at the health statistics, generally the higher someone's SES, the better their health is, because they have access to better healthcare, they live in environments where often the building's quality is better, there's maybe less pollution in the air and all of that.
The way people look at you can kill you inside.
People have different answers towards socio-economic discrimination. It can lead groups of people to get organised, getting involved in activism, or reaching out to others who are struggling. What are the underlying systemic structures and societal factors?
I think fundamentally the problem is the inequality is baseline or the group rule of society, and they are different group of different social and economic interests.
The fact that judgment and discrimination is deeply rooted in our society lead to segregation between different sections of the society. Each part is likely to fear and distrust the other ones. This kind of judgment even impacts views of people on different aspects of discrimination within different groups. The difference of media attention and the political narratives lead to different sections of the population, making some deserving to be helped and others not. It's also a question of representation.
That's why we still be discriminated against, because there's nobody to represent voices of the majority groups in power, and that's how it's going to keep continuing until either we raise our voices or bring it to Parliament, or until we're more respected in powerful positions.
How to promote integration and inclusion. The Add the Tent campaign is carried out by an alliance of NGOs, including ATD Ireland. The aim of this campaign is to recognise the socio-economic status as a ground in the Irish equality legislation. We hope this will change public opinion, views on the topic, while offering a legal recourse to people suffering from discrimination.
Sometimes inclusion is not just about fixing the barriers in a material way, it's also about the mindset. A new mindset.
The importance of building dialogue between different sections of the society to have common visions and acting together against inequalities was underlined in the report. This dialogue is even more important to have with social workers. That's why ATD Ireland meets social work students every year in Trinity College. We are given the opportunity to share our experience, our knowledge, and to give voice to our opinions on the subject matter. Videos can be found on our YouTube and Instagram channel, as well as our other social media platforms. In this dialogue, the main thing is to recognise people suffering from socio-economic discrimination as experts on the topic, with skills, ambitions and agency to build strong links between people and the communities from which these people come.
In my eyes. Yo, mic check everywhere I go. Get on down and I rock the show. Let's go. Dysfunction. Better going now with a function. Oh, get my heart is punching. Beat into the beat everywhere I go. Get down, rock the show. And power share, honey rock, you know. Here we go. How the awareness just came down.